Hey, so welcome back to Katsushrovsky. I want to cover some stuff while I still have the capacity to communicate. And I'm speaking probably a little too fast, but I don't really mind because this time I have, again, you can take a look at the display. You can see that my desktop is showing now on the screen, and I want to run through a variety of topics that, again, we're going to restart the long series of covering real life events and relevant topics from security, all domains of life, that but specifically the ones that also, this is a bit like a bit of like a vlog in a sense, but daily activities. So I want to cover, this is slightly related to the previous episode I just recorded, which is like Merry Christmas to those who don't have the regular standard measure for celebration of Christmas. There's a lot of, sometimes there is a stigma from some people that you have to celebrate Christmas or New Year's or the festive holidays in a certain, I don't think it's a lot, but there are a few people I've met who are like, it's usually not, thankfully. But again, it's called the season of giving, and it's not really, I don't believe, a very important aspect to have during Christmas, that you must celebrate through necessarily exchanging material gifts. That's more like an activity you participate in. But the spirit of giving is more important than the actual act of receiving or giving gifts. Especially nowadays, again, with the whole very consumer-based oriented, very superficial and shallow values that have developed from lots of self-improvement, obsessed, like appearance, very vanity, narcissistic, and like egotistical. What's the word? I can't find the word for it, but focus. It's very heavily focused on appearance, right? And a lot of it's very much focused on, do you have like a Mercedes Benz? Did you get that Rolex watch? Do you have a 3,000 square foot home? Like all that kind of stuff. And then what did your spouse give you? Did she like buy you like a diamond necklace, or did you buy her a some sort of like lavish $4,000 gift? That doesn't matter to me, and I don't think that's supposed to matter, especially for something like Christmas. But again, different opinions for different people, and that apparently is something that I see as a very unrealistic expectation that unfortunately seems to be pervasive. It's a very common expectation I see nowadays in younger couples especially. But it's not really for me to, I can share my opinion, but I'm never going to tell them what they can and cannot value. I feel like it's kind of unwise, not just for them to do this, but unwise of me if I were to try to like scold them or that's up to them. If they can afford it, all the merrier, in fact. Just don't allow it to take precedence over everything else. So on that tangent, on that theme, I wanted to talk about like some, I guess this is religion. I'm not particularly, it's very complicated, religion and me, right? I think for a lot of people, religion is a very complicated topic anyways. I'm not gonna dive into it. So instead, what I'm just gonna do is cover the things that I kind of look through, because I wanted to explore the influences that have shaped my own perception and upbringing and values. And so these are some tabs, again, some content that I had saved on Firefox. And again, it's a browser that has already way too many tabs. I already have like 2,000 tabs open on 35 instances on Microsoft Edge browser. And then now because it got so bloated that it was lagging, I opened up Firefox. And I believe the reason for that was because it had some sort of crash and Firefox was just working a lot. Right, the computer crashed, all the browsers closed. I said, oh, it's so much faster when we don't have Edge open, right? If I open Edge, the default is that it will reopen all the browsers. It will ask me that. Of course, I want to open all of them because I don't want to lose the content saved. But then that also means that it's going to kill my laptop CPU and RAM, so I didn't want to do that. So I just opened Firefox and started working my way on that instead with much more streamlined speed and efficiency of the laptop, but it started to get bloated too. So now I probably have like 40 tabs on Firefox, and so we're going to run through that, close it, because it's even worse to have all those browser tabs open on Edge as well as Firefox. Previously, I didn't open the Edge Firefox, the Edge browser at the same time that I had Firefox open, but through some sort of like Windows update or something like that, I ended up opening Edge anyways. Now I have both fucking browsers open, and it's slow as a pig. And again, I just want to run through all this stuff, but I didn't have the opportunity because I'm so busy with other things in life. So now that we have the chance, long story short, let's just run through very, very briefly, I think about 10 topics here. So the first one is Asura. And if you don't understand, Asura is like, the very core of it comes from Indian mythology and religion. And is the Asuras and the Devas, right? These two forces of like pseudo-humanoid beings that represent trouble and bad luck and bad karma and also good karma. They kind of at war with each other. I'm not going to go through all the full details of it, but I'll read a little bit here. So Asuras, because I was also trying to learn more about it and also correct any misunderstandings that I had as well. So Asuras connote the chaos creating evil in Indo-Iranian mythology about the battle between good and evil, which is more or less what I kind of said. According to Finnish Indologist Asko Papola, the word Asura was borrowed from Proto-Indo-Aryan into Proto-Uralic during a period of contact. And then of course you have it here in Wikipedia as well. So please roll in this one. But obviously Asura shows up in Indian mythology and religion. It shows up in over here in Islamic, and then also shows up very obviously in the Japanese mythology as well. So Asura being the devil in Japanese. So I'm gonna close this and I'm gonna move on to the next one. And this one says it's another search. I was looking in this tab specifically for the Indian background of Asura. So who is the powerful Asura in Hinduism specifically? Asura, demigods, Vedic gods, devas, and so on and so forth. And in Sanskrit, passive beings of power-seeking clans related to the more benevolent devas or asuras in Hinduism. And again, these have played a component in my life, and I don't really want to go through because this is less of an influence. There was at one point where when I was very, very early in my age, I was part Buddhist, very strongly Buddhist in some aspects than others. And if you're not well aware, Buddhism has its roots dating into Indian, again, culture as well, at the very earliest, like 3,000, 4,000 years ago. So it's intertwined a little bit with some aspects of Hinduism. Okay, close that. Next one. This time over here, this is a totally new thing. I was trying to search up what I had heard of the IL suffix, the prefix IL, so ilkanat. And I put in IL dash and it popped up a bunch of different search queries and terms. So one of them was some Mongolians during their conquest. And another one is also popped up, in this case, the Ilkorpdalbridja. I don't know if I butchered what I just said right there, but basically this is the Malta police force homepage, and you don't know how to pronounce that. And I'm not exactly sure where Malta is on the world. Again, you can put that down in the comments below if you want. If you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube or Patreon, whatever, just like tell me. I don't think I'm gonna Google this up because I have so much to run through. But there's some police force. Alright, next. And then the next one I found was like the Ilkhanat, like I said. And the reason why I was actually showing a little bit of concept, a little bit of a background, I was actually naming certain profiles as creating profiles for aliases and alters of family in my Wi-Fi app that runs for the network modem, and for the service provider that I have, they have a nice phone app and an online browser app you can use to designate the security protocols as well as the permissions and access, the level of access that certain mobile devices and certain users within the household can use. So not that it's particularly relevant to me in that specific concrete sense, but more in an abstract sense, and I'm not going to elaborate on that because it gets really bizarre for most people can't really understand it, because it's a personal thing, right? But here we go, Ilkhanat. That's why I searched it up, right? I wanted to see if one of the family profiles was great. I was going to start with it, IL dash. I want to understand what I was using. I don't like to just use things without understanding the context and the background and the cultural significance and so on and so forth. So in this case, Ilkhanat was a Mongol Khanat founded in the southwestern territories of the Mongol Empire. It was ruled by Khans and Ikhanids. What were they known for? How did the Ilkhanat fall? Was the Ilkhanat Sunni or Shia Muslim? And who defeated the Ilkhanat? So this is the dynasty, and it says here, the Mongol dynasty that ruled in Iran from 1256 to 1135. So that's more than 7 centuries ago. And Ilkhan is Persian for subordinate Khan. We have a little map here, a little bit of history of how the Mongol Empire, the Ilkhanat, was their entire empire looked like about 700, 800 years ago. Okay. Next, so now we jump from Indian culture and mythology, Japanese, and what was the other one? Like Islamic, over to Mongolian, and then all the way over to Latin American and Western, prophetic religions. So this is, of course, I think this is Roman Catholic and Christianity specifically, but this one has a much more cultural significance it has much more developmental significance to my personal values and beliefs of particularly jurisprudence, personality traits that I've adopted in justice, in morality, in ethics, in the notions of forgiveness or the capacity for revenge, capacity to retaliate for compensation, stuff like that. So, and also more darker themes like the notion of the 7 sins and greed and vice and bitterness, envy, and stuff like that. So, and wrath, particularly hatred, wrath. So, Nuestra Senora de Guadalupe. So this is Guadalupe, a lady of Guadalupe, and this is again something very significant to me. I'm not going to jump or elaborate like this. We go really deep into my psyche and stuff like that, and that's not something I want to disclose anyways. It wouldn't be very good to do that. But needless to say, Nuestra Senora de Guadalupe, translated over because it was one of the roles that I put into. Here is an example of, this is a very classic, if you take a look on the right hand side, the imagery of the Virgin, the Latin American version of Mary, right? The Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus Christ. Associated with a series of 4 Marian apparitions of a Mexican peasant named Juan Diego. And I have a really great neighbor and friend here who has a little cat named Diego, but again, nothing too personal. And so Our Lady of Guadalupe, Catholic title, so it's Catholic, of Mary, Mother of Jesus, associated with a series of 4 Marian apparitions to a Mexican peasant named Juan Diego. What is the significance of the Lady of Guadalupe? What is the true story? What was the miracle? And blah, 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 and all these questions that pop up. Next. Okay. Continuing on, we only have like 3 more tabs left. On the themes of mythology and religion and general like character and integrity and vice, virtue. Right? So this is sacrilege. This is me trying to learn what is sacrilege. What does it mean? I've heard of the word being used, sacrilegious, and I didn't know what it meant, so I just searched for definition. So what is example of sacrilege? What is sacrilegious behavior? What does it mean? So it says a technical and not necessarily intrinsically outrageous violation. That's a very verbose way to describe something. But basically it's like blasphemy, right? It's like you've done something that, according to a certain type of religion, is immoral. That's what sacrilege means. And down here it says an act of treating something holy or important without respect. So it's not as severe as blasphemy. It's like a light version of it, right? That's why it's sacrilegious. It's a violation, but it's not very, very a severe violation like blasphemy would be. That you'd be condemned to hell and stuff like that. Which again, I'm not saying that I believe in that. I'm just telling you what I'm just learning. Okay, violation or misuse. I'm not saying I disagree with either. Okay, I do certainly believe there are some really awful people who deserve to burn in hell, so to speak, metaphorically. But that doesn't, it's not me saying, I'm not disclosing my opinion for or against. But so violation or misuse of what is regarded as sacred. There you go. Putting custody of investments to secular use was considered sacrilege, and that's an example. Okay. So again, we're going all over the entire world, all 7 continents, from every single country, right? You can tell I've had a lot of different mythological and religious influences. Like, by the time I was at the age of 15, I had so many different influences. And one of them, believe it or not, when I was only in grade 5, was from learning the Aztecs. Okay? So we've jumped from Indian to Islamic to Japanese to Latin American to Mongolian, all the way to Aztec. So and the Mayans. So this is Huitzilopotchtli. Huitzilopotchtli is the solar and war deity or god of sacrifice in the Aztec religion. I actually dressed up as this when I was in 5th grade. We had to do like a little convention. If you know, you know, but it's like downtown, nice main city, a little bit on the eastern side. We call it East York. And me and my classmates, it was like a group project. You know, we're only in grade 4 or 5, and our homeroom teacher had us just like learn a little bit about the traditional beliefs, practices, and culture of the Aztecs. And so Huitzilopotchtli is again the solar, the sun god. And if you're, I suppose, if you're one of those people who likes to watch Japanese animations, it would be, this is similar to Nika, the sun god of One Piece, which is a direct, what's the right word? It's paying homage to a Latin American, again, another solar god that's revered in Southern American mythology and religion. So Nika, the sun god. So Huitzilopotchtli is somewhat like that, but it's more fierce. It's less comedic. Has less to do with mischief and more to do with strength and warmth. So he is the patron god of the Aztecs in the capital city, probably gonna butcher this, but Tecnoctilan. Okay, so as you can see, people ask, who is the Aztec god of strength? What is most powerful? Who is best known for? And who is the deity of chaos? And again, Huitzilopotchtli formed a very formative experience in influencing myself as a being, because again, I was brought up from influence. These are my parents in a sense. They're like godfathers, make up for the lack of a real father, for example. godmothers made up for the lack of a true mother, and among other things that I've done in order to make a holistic, healthy, or even a stronger representation of character for the man that I want to become, and that I strive to be on a daily basis. So that's the last one. Here is, we're jumping over to to another continent. We're just going on a world tour. So I gotta be quiet. It's midnight right now. But it's I didn't intend for this, right? But we just jumped to a different continent right now. We're now in Africa and Caribbean cultures. Okay, so this one has a less prominent influence on me, although I've always been able to see this deity, and not specifically this deity, this god, but I have been able to, see the cultural references in media once in a while, right? Of this strong black demigod of a man, portrayed sitting down, cross-legged, with red beads around his neck, fairly fit, and a very, very stoic, strong character. Almost like he's pointing, like he's the oracle. Think of the Matrix, right? Think of the Matrix, pop culture reference. And he, Eshu, so this is the African god of fate, or the Caribbean. He also, there's a lot of variations. Again, there's a lot of cross-cultural, historical, overlapping themes here that have translated from African religions. In this case, the source is Yoruba of Nigeria. So Eshu, as it says here, is the trickster god of the Yoruba of Nigeria. Okay? An essentially protective, benevolent spirit who serves Ifa, the chief god, as a messenger between heaven and earth. Eshu requires constant appeasement in order to carry out his assigned functions of conveying sacrifices and divining the future. And divination, this is a game reference actually. You can't tell I have a lot of influences. It's like the act, divination is the act of seeing into the future. So it's like, what's it, the orb, the crystal orb of the fortune tellers. It's like that. So Eshu, what isn't mentioned here is that, I'm pulling from my learning and understanding and also my past experiences. But Eshu, in the full name, again, he's been translated into different things. Like there's Elegwa, Eshu, Elegbara, Elegba. And then there's the full name, Eshu Elegwa Elegbar. That's his full name. From Africa, Nigeria, over to the Caribbeans and Jamaica, over into Latin American, so like Brazil and Colombia and stuff like that. So Eshu is actually also responsible as like two forces within him, responsible for fate. So it's not just, one side is, as listed here on Google search here, is the trickster, the mischievous, the component of his 401 different powers, divine powers and omnipotency, involve half of them basically being responsible for the challenges and obstacles that humans face in life. And so there's mischievousness, there's deception, there's trickery. But then the other side to Eshu, and again, this is a very strong influence on me growing up. I didn't have the imagery, I didn't have the specific details of this deity or this god. I just had the image, I didn't have the name, I didn't have the lore. Now I do. That's why I searched it up. Basically, he's also the reason why you have a certain path in life. You're able to attain some sort of success and overcome and become triumphant in your ordeals. Okay. And so there's a lot of reference paid to specifically Eshu Elegwa Bar. Okay. And that's it. So I think that's a lot. We basically traveled the whole fucking world. we went from India to Middle Eastern, to like Pakistan, Iran, over to Japan, Tokyo, over to Mongolia, which now is part of Russia, over to like Brazil and Latin America, over to Aztecs. Like we went back in time to Aztecs and the Mayans, and then over to Yoruba of Nigeria, which is, of course, African. So we went across the whole world, just detailing. And this is again because these are the personal influences that I've had in my bringing and have played a formative role in me, and I want to use these to formulate. It was just the funny thing about this is this is going to seem a lot more trivial, but basically I just created profile right on my Wi-Fi network modem. That's literally all that I was doing. But there were multiple layers to that. Yes, there was that, but then there's also the fact that I was going to. I'm going to keep this a little bit of a secret, but there's much more significant to that. It's much more practical use in finding the alters and aliases, which I'm not going to elaborate what I mean by aliases and alters. All right, so that's it. We nailed through about 10 tabs, and in fact, why don't I just close the next tab here on YouTube as well once this ends. So thanks for listening to I guess a re-entry into the series of content, like actual content, like on a daily basis, and the things that I go through. And so this is one of those things. I revisited mythology and religion and the roots of my upbringing and development as a person, as a man, growing up without much of a family. This is how I formed myself as a person. So that being said, that's it. Again, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. It's gonna be late, but whatever. That's it. This is Robsy signing out. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.